Our next inductee is the great Jack Greynolds. Coach Greynolds is one of the greatest basketball coaches the state of Ohio has ever seen. His Barberton Magics won the 1976 state championship and were state runners-up in 77 and 1982. My college roommate at Wittenberg University and one of my dearest friends, Todd Onisick, played on Coach Greynolds' state runner-up team in 1982. He often told me in my dorm room, Todd often said, Coach Greynolds was a great man and a great coach, in that order. Remarkably, Coach Greynolds never had a losing season. Probably still have parents complain, but never had a losing season. Coach Greynolds led 4 undefeated seasons, earned the 3rd longest winning streak in Ohio basketball history at 51 games. He spent his first 12 years at Revere High School from 59 to 69 before spending the next 18 at Barberton. Overall high school record was 549 and 121. Greynolds was named UPI State Coach of the Year in 76 and 77, State AP Coach of the Year and Prep Sport National Coach of the Year in 77. He was selected Summit County Coach of the Year an unprecedented 5 times. Coach Greynolds is a member of the Ohio High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Jack is being honored posthumously tonight, and his son, Jack Jr., is going to be here to accept his award. Please join me in welcoming Jack Greynolds to the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame.
Whoa. All right. Actually, I usually don't write things down when I have to, talk at a banquet or something like that. But tonight I thought I would, since I'm not receiving the award for myself, I'm receiving it for my dad. I thought I'd kind of share some things that some of his players probably didn't know about him, and some of the fans and things like that. So, real quick, I had an ELO story too. We used to go to the chapel in Akron. And Elo and Price, they went to the chapel also, and we were all much younger, that back then. And we were sitting in the pews, and this pretty good-looking blonde with the nice dress walked by, and I was kind of looking over, and my dad smacked my leg and said, "That's Elo's wife." I'm like, "Oh." So I'm kind of glad Craig's not here, but his wife was pretty fine. So, all right, got that one out of the way. All right, my dad started off at Revere High School, had great teams there. They ended up losing to Central, which had Gus Johnson, Nate Thurman, Goose Davidson, a bunch of those guys in the sectional finals every year. And we were like, not we, I wasn't born yet, but I guess Revere was like 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, or 3 boys just over the limit to be in the lower division, because there's only 2 divisions. And my dad kept asking, can you kick a couple kids out so we can actually advance and probably get to state, because they probably could have won state 2 or 3 times. But they had to go against Central, which was all of Akron, against Little Revere, which is smaller than this room. And they lose by 1 point, 2 points, and it just kind of frustrated them. But he had great teams at Revere. Obviously, if you've seen his record, he had to have been successful there first. Like 1969, he had 2 assistant coaches, Fred Ost and Al Semesco, who were looking at taking other jobs, going someplace as head coaches, leaving him as an assistant. And Fred Ost was going to go to St. Ed's, I think, as football coach. He said, "Hey, Jack, the Barberton job's open now. You should apply for that." He's like, "Why?" He goes, "I have no interest in leaving here. I like it here. Things are established. I have no reason to go to Barberton." So he went home and told my mom, "Hey, Barberton's open." My mom's like, "Where's that?" And he said, "That's that school that has purple." And she goes, "I hate purple." And so he didn't apply, but Fred Ost on the sly applied for him. And Spitzraber actually was the AD then, and he went and checked out my dad and talked to all kinds of different people and really thoroughly vetted him. And he ended up getting the Barberton job, which piggyback off a couple of other points that people made. The Lord puts you where he wants you to be. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't always mean that that's where you want to be at the time, but the Lord will put us where He wants us to be, and we're there to give glory to Him and do His will. So I think him getting the Barberton job was the Lord's doing, obviously, and I think he was the right man at the right time at the right place. Barberton was kind of a dying town in the mid-'70s when the 76 team really exploded, and he said a lot of times he thought the basketball team kind of saved the town, because a lot of people were moving out, a lot of people were unemployed, people having rough times, and they could come out to the high school basketball game for $3, watch the pretty cheerleaders. They could yell at the officials. They could question the coach. They could eat a bag of popcorn and kind of forget their troubles for a couple hours. And I think he was right about that. When he got the Barberton job, he actually he stole about 8 basketballs from Revere, and went around town and asked, hey, who's a good basketball player? Who's coming up that I should look at? And they gave him a bunch of names: Bowders, Brapson, Carter Scott, Grisby's, those guys. And so he went around, I guess, and he gave them each a basketball, and he said, make sure this is worn out when I see you back in September. And he went around and checked the basketballs. A lot of them were worn out, and that's kind of how he got kicked off his tenure at Barberton. And he always wanted to make it a show. He wanted it to be interesting, because he always said there's a lot of money competing for the dollar. A lot of other things competing for the dollar. He always wanted his teams to be an extension of him, kind of flamboyant, hard-nosed, intense, and I think his teams really did show that. I coached for a long time, and I used to kind of think about the last 10 years, our players would come up at the banquet and have their phones out and read it. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But I had to increase the font on this thing because I couldn't read it. But he wanted basketball to be happening. He wanted the whole town involved. I remember he was told that black and whites don't play together here. It's a football town. And he said, well, black and whites are going to play together. And he said, and we're going to make it a basketball town. And I think he accomplished both of those. He saw people for who they were. He wanted to get the most out of you he wanted to get more out of you than you thought you had in you. And sometimes, that's hard, because a lot of times we resist. We want to take the easy way out, and we just want to do what's easy and convenient and comfortable. And I think he was really good at getting something extra out of each kid. Just wrap it up here before he gives me the hook. But he would always try and pick a couple of kids out each semester who weren't very popular, didn't have much, and generally kind of struggled in school, struggled in life, didn't have a good home life, things like that. And he tried to pay special attention to them and give them a sense of worth. In a lot of ways, those kids, I've seen a lot of those kids over the years, they were telling me that my dad did that stuff, and I didn't really know that at the time. And I always thought that was fantastic, something I would try to emulate as a teacher and a coach. Coaches may not be as respected or looked up to as much as they used to be, but they're still respected within the school, and I think coaches need to do that with a lot of the kids. Take them under your wing, and just toss them a bone once in a while, tell them, hey, great job, or I like your hair today, or just something little, because a lot of the kids do not get a whole lot of love at home, and I think that's one of our responsibilities. And just real quick, the 76 team's coming up next. And those guys were always my heroes, because I was about 10 when they were in high school, and I always felt like they were about 30 years older than me. And now I did the math a couple years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, they're like 6 years older than me. So, but they were always my heroes. My mom used to wash uniforms after every game, hang them on the shower curtain, and I'd go in there. By the time they got pretty dry, I'd take one down, and I would be that player on my Nerf set in the living room. And I was all of you guys at some point. Some of you guys didn't score much. I scored more for you, try to help you out. But that was always special. And I recorded the band, because our band would play, and I'd record the crowd, and I'd have that playing on the side, and I'd do all these shots and stuff. So you guys were always my heroes. I was an only child, still am. And, you're like my big brothers. Carter Scott said I was the only guy who was allowed to shoot in practice while they were practicing. And that's true. So I just want to thank everybody. Thank Sheila for the great job she's done. And I want to email her back and say there's no way you're going to keep a bunch of coaches and athletes to 3 to 4 minutes. But, she gave it a good effort, and you guys have been great. So thank you for everything. And I think he should MC again next year.
I think we found our MC for next year, Sheila. I'm out. We got him right here.